It's November 14th, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have a dangerous experiment, a city consumed by fire, and a kingdom on the edge of collapse. Let's begin. On November 14th, 1666, a small room in Britain became the stage for something strange. 2 dogs were brought inside, one strong and restless, the other weak, barely breathing. Around them stood a handful of men in wigs, gowns, clutching glass tubes and metal syringes. With shaking hands, they connected the 2 creatures by vein, letting blood from the healthy dog flow to the sick one. It was one of the world's first blood transfusions. Centuries before anyone understood infection or even what blood truly was, the witnesses wrote that the transfusion might transfer vitality or perhaps even temperament. Could rage, loyalty, and obedience be passed through the crimson stream? The air was thick with the smell of iron, and the donor began to weaken. The recipient twitched, whimpered, and then went still. The experiment was hailed as a success, but none of them truly knew what they had done. They had seen life leaving one body and entering another, and for the first time, humanity touched a boundary between science and fiction. Early scientists really had a way of pushing boundaries. There's something oddly admirable and quite terrifying about that kind of curiosity. On November 14th, 1927, the people of Pittsburgh's north side woke to an ordinary Monday morning, unaware that an invisible monster was already growing beneath their feet. At 8:45 a.m., a massive natural gas storage tank owned by Equitable Gas Company finally reached its limits. It held nearly 5 million cubic feet of compressed gas, silently pressing against the steel shell. For years it had loomed over the neighborhood, a giant no one feared. Until that moment, it took its first breath. Witnesses later said they heard a low groan, like metal twisting under impossible weight, and then the world erupted. The tank exploded with the force of a small bomb, sending a wall of fire and debris roaring across the north side. Entire sections of buildings were ripped away, windows shattered for miles, and the adjacent Pittsburgh clay pot factory collapsed instantly, burying workers under bricks, beams, and burning clay dust. In seconds, 26 souls were gone, hundreds more injured, and the quiet neighborhood had transformed into a war zone of smoke and twisted steel. They say firefighters described the scene as a valley of wreckage, the main tank still hissing like a dying breath of something enormous and angry. This was the price of their confidence, believing we could trap, compress it, and control it. On November 14th, 1920, the people of Greece went to the polls expecting a routine election. A predictable victory, a calm continuation of the future they believed they were building. But history on that day shifted like a shadow crossing the sun. Eleftherios Venizelos, a powerful and popular leader of the Liberal Party, walked into the vote nearly certain of triumph. He had expanded Greece's borders, strengthened alliances, and led the nation through an upheaval. His supporters saw him as the architect of the rising Greek dream, yet when the ballots were counted, the dream cracked. He had lost, badly. The united opposition swept into power, stunning the nation. It was as if a political earthquake had struck beneath Athens, silent but devastating. Overnight, hope reversed course, turning excitement of the morning into the dread of the night. He fled into exile, leaving behind the country, suddenly unsure of its destiny, and the new leadership steering Greece into a storm no one had imagined, one that would grow into the disastrous Greek-Turkish War of 1922. Cities burned, armies fell, borders collapsed. A national catastrophe had begun, all from a single, unexpected vote. For decades after, the Greeks whispered an uneasy question. How could everything change so quickly? Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next eerie dose is just a day away.